Willoughby Railroad. I'd like to start this video by kind of giving a brief idea of what's going on here on this map, this save. This save is an original save from the day the game was released. I don't remember the date offhand, but this is the save that I started like the hour it released because we were all excited waiting for this game to come out. So everyone bought it like within 10 minutes of it coming out, or the pre-release version that's out currently. I've been playing on this save since then. We are on day 74. This game has mostly been played in company mode. I have had to go to sandbox mode a couple of times for a couple of things, fueling some locomotives that do not take fuel, but everything in this save otherwise is earned and built up from day one. Anyway, recently on YouTube, recently on Twitch, find me there, littlepumpkinking.com, or at littlepumpkinking. But I wanted to start this video as part of a series, a multi-part series. I am running a bunch of mods, some of which I have authored and some of which other folks have authored, including the one seen here on this screen. We are currently sitting in Sylva. This is the Sylva terminal that's done by ARC. It is available on Nexus Mods. It is mod number 639 for Railroader. I highly recommend this mod. This was, once I found this mod, this was my terminal for the railroad until I started doing my own mods and built myself a larger facility in East Whittier, which I now refer to as Willoughby Yard, which is where part one of this series will take us. We will climb aboard number 908 here and run it manually to Willoughby Yard, and that'll be part one. I will kind of go over some of the mods I've done, either downloaded or authored myself, kind of as we go through them. The map is heavily modified. I am running about 40 to 45 mods on the map, some of which are map mods, a lot of them are equipment mods, including the locomotives and the cars you see on the head end of this train. So let's climb aboard number 908 here and get headed west, because I believe there is an interchange train waiting for us at Cowie. So let's go ahead, and I do run everything. When I'm running, I do mostly run in second or third person. There's so much traffic on this map, I don't have time to get in and really do everything hands-on, kind of like everyone would like to. In fact, it's very rare anymore that I even take the opportunity to run a train manually, because again, no time. So the thing I love about this mod is ARC does have it set up for several versions. This is the largest of the versions. You can change it from, I believe it's medium, large, extra large. I don't remember specifically what they label them, but basically the interchange holds 86, 130, or 180 cars. I do move on average about 1,000 cars a day on this railroad. So the larger yard was necessary so that I wasn't basically just playing interchange babysitter all day. Kind of check the map. As soon as we clear the 15-mile-an-hour track, we can get out of here. I have noticed, I just updated the Jeep 40s today, and I have noticed the bell hotkey is not working now. So anywhere I'm supposed to ring the bell, let's just pretend that the bell is ringing. I do run long trains on this map, so average train length is about 4,000 feet. This particular train happens to be 73 cars, 3 locomotives, 4,624 tons, 3,747 feet. So one of the mods that I have done through throughout the map is a handful of the sidings have been extended. So the first of my authored mods that we will come across, it'll be the siding at Cowie. I have extended that siding to about 1 mile long. Once we clear the yard, we'll slap the stick back and get headed down the road. With all the mods that I do, and I've even edited some of the ones that I've downloaded, I have gone in and programmed in all the track speeds so that the AE behaves a little better. It doesn't always like to do it unless you go in and change every segment. Close enough. Come out to get the slack stretched. And then we'll get out of here. Willoughby Yard will be the first place that this train does work. It will set out and pick up as needed in Willoughby. My plan at this point is we will showcase that in part 2. So part 1 will be just getting this train down to Willoughby. Part 2 will be doing the work at Willoughby. And then from there we'll go down part 3 from Willoughby down to Bryson onto the double track at Ella. Get our train down out of the 25 there, and we can take off again. Thing I don't do that's very prototypical on this map is I do run a lot of independent brake to control the train. One of my biggest gripes about this game, at least from what I can see, is that it does not model the train line air properly as far as equalization and brake cylinder pressure. And having run a bunch of big mainline trains, it drives me bonkers that the brakes don't behave the way they do in the real world, so I avoid them whenever I can. They work mostly, but you have to basically drain the brake pipe to get a full set on them, and that's not how it works in the real world. There's an equalization depending on what your brake pipe pressure is set to. And I'm sure someone's already talked about that, or maybe they haven't. I only point it out so that if people notice I'm using the independents a lot to control the train speed, it's just simpler. siding extension here at Dillsboro and Cowie does include what is usually the first yard track. I did mimic those segments. It is sort of yard friendly. It's definitely engine house friendly. You can have the engine house with this siding in place. I did leave the segments alone that give you that crossover if you need it. But the switches and the leads on the west end are not compatible with the update. Or with my mod. I don't use it. I've outgrown that yard. I don't use it anymore, so I just reverted it back. As everything now goes straight to Willoughby. All of the sidings I have modified are all roughly about a mile long now, which makes it easy for me. If the train's 5,000 feet or less, it will fit. They don't all fit. We ran a train the other night that was 171 cars. I could sit and listen to these engines all day. Gotta love the turbo. Turned all the signals off on the railroad because extending sidings is not signal friendly. And stay tuned, part 4, potentially part number 5 will go up over the red marble grade. That whole grade has been relayed. The highest grade on the whole railroad now is 3.8%. Each of these locomotives is generally good for about 1,000 tons now on the hill. We do run helpers out of Nantahala. So stay tuned for part 4 or 5 when that comes out, depending on how it all plays out. Good way to rail fan through a tunnel these days still, so we'll just wait for it to come back out this side with the little default rock slide that's built into the game. Make sure we're clear of the siding before we take off again. Here we go. One drawback of going westbound out of Sylva is everything's downhill, so you don't get to hear them wound up very much. That gets more fun once we get west of Bryson. Climb back up the river. Sylva all the way down to Ella's. Actually, Sylva all the way down to Bryson is just kind of a coast. So the second mod that I've authored that we will come across sighting at Barker's. Barker's has also been extended to about a mile long. It was easy enough to extend it west, so I left the east end alone, extended the west end out, and surprisingly use it more than I expected to once I got it done. Cowie Dillsboro was the last sighting to be extended, so I've been using it more now and Barker's less. But Barker's was a hot spot for traffic as soon as it got extended because I needed a place to pass trains between Sylva and Willoughby. Willoughby has also been a test bed for paint schemes on the locomotives. The brown and the two-tone brown on the 908 and the 905 seen here is actually the third paint scheme in a series of about 6. 924, the third unit out, is the scheme that I refer to as Green 3 or G3. That is the most current paint scheme on the Willoughby. We will see a variety of the other paint schemes as we go across the railroad. They're all out here running around somewhere. Total roster is currently 27 Jeep 40s, 2 SD40-2s. I think we're down to 6 Jeep 38s, a handful of U30Bs that recently came out on Nexus. Those are decent models as well, if you want to check those out. I appreciate them because they don't have standard sounds, they've got custom sounds, so it gives a little bit of variety. When one of those is coming around the corner, you can hear it before you see it, and you can tell that it's not one of the EMDs. And they're also 3,000 horsepower, which makes it easy for calculating grades on the trains because they're similar enough to the Jeep 40s that I don't have to calculate extra numbers for tonnage. There are also 4 MP15 ACs on the railroad. They are also a gorgeous looking model in my opinion. My only gripe with them is they do have the standard 567 sounds from the game. If they had Beeman's Jeep 38 sounds, in my opinion, they'd be perfect. But I do run 2 pairs of 2 at Willoughby Yard. They do their job well, they look good. Nice looking moves. like I said, by the time the rear of the train hits that curve, we're going to be darn near where we're trying to go. So around the corner will be the next mod we come across, which is the East Whittier Sugar Mill by Mr. Grizz1231. Another one I highly recommend if you want lots of traffic on your railroad. A lot of cars in and out of there. Another one that's hard to keep up with since I've had traffic up so high. Do what we can. Do what we can. So. Tell we're getting close to Willoughby because the frame rate goes way down. And as soon as we clear the sugar yard, we get the switch to the left there. That's the yard lead for the east end of Willoughby Yard. We'll roll down the main line and end part 1 there. Part 2, we'll figure out what our work is, do our work, and head for Bryson. Roll by the engine shops and car shops on the east end of the yard. On the right hand side is the original interchange yard. It is intact. This mod is compatible with the day 1 interchange. A little bit different track alignment, but the segments are there. It should work. First 3 tracks to our left are the arrival departure tracks. Everything left of those is classification. Should probably look into starting to slow this thing down. I do like the yard ballast versus the mainline ballast for non-mainline tracks. So all of the original track and the mill site, I did change over to yard ballast. In my opinion, I think it looks much better. That's one of those things everyone has their opinions on, and it's easy to change, so. We're now arriving on the main line at the west end of the yard. Pop over and check our paperwork and see if there's any work here for us to do. I know we have some cars to set out here, though we may just take them down to Ella and set them out. But that's going to do it for part 1 of the layout tour. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Get notifications for upcoming videos, the other parts. We do some streaming. We do stream on YouTube. We also started streaming the other day on Twitch. Find us there or at YouTube at Little Pumpkin King. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your efforts. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. And enjoy the railroad.